The suspect who targeted a federal judge may be linked to another assassination using the same chilling MO. Roy Den Hollander killed himself with a self-inflicted gunshot hours after he posed as a FedEx delivery man and gunned down the 20-year-old son of federal judge Esther Salas. He also shot her husband in the stomach at their home in New Jersey. The judge was in the basement when the ambush took place and was unharmed. Now Hollander, a woman-hating lawyer, is the chief suspect in another brazen assassination 2,700 miles away in Crestline, California. The victim was a lawyer named Mark Angelucci.
10 days ago, Angelucci was killed when he answered his front door. He was shot by a gunman posing as a FedEx delivery man. The attack happened in broad daylight about 4 in the afternoon. At the time, cops said they had no motive for the slaying or suspects.
The U.S. State Department is accusing China of a massive illegal spying operation and ordering Beijing to close this consulate that you see in Houston. China now threatening to retaliate.
Allison, we know tensions between the U.S. and China have been rising over the past months. I can tell you this is now putting it at a whole new level. This escalates things rapidly. In fact, Chinese Foreign Ministry is saying that this will sabotage U.S.-China relations. Let me show you some of these images out of Houston right now. This is the Chinese consulate down there. And as you reported there, it's scheduled to be closed now by orders of the United States State Department. The Chinese are not happy with this, but the U.S. State Department is releasing a statement explaining why they're going about this. I'm going to read you that statement here, or at least part of it. They say the People's Republic of China has engaged for years in massive illegal spying and influence operations throughout the United States against U.S. government officials and American citizens. These activities have increased markedly in scale and scope over the past few years.
This is the most amount of shooting victims in one incident in recent memory in Chicago. At about 6:30 p.m. tonight, 4 individuals in a black vehicle opened fire in the south side of Chicago outside of a funeral home. 14 people were shot. Some of those funeral attendees ended up opening fire on that vehicle. We do not know the specific conditions of the victims, only that most are in serious to critical condition. They have been sent to 5 area hospitals. Some 60 gun shell casings have been found on the scene. The suspects crashed that vehicle that they were in and they fled the scene. The police do have 1 person of interest in custody. The motive is unknown at this time, but we know that 1 officer was assigned to protect that funeral as a precaution. The funeral was for a man that was shot and killed just a mile and a half away from that funeral home.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is visiting Denmark to try to persuade it to stop work on the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline passing through its waters. Denmark has just given the go-ahead for the work, but Pompeo hopes to get the Danes to change their minds. The U.S. believes the pipeline will make Germany too dependent on Russian gas. Now, last week, Pompeo warned companies involved in the project they will be subject to US penalties if they didn't halt their work.
Work on the Baltic Sea gas pipeline Nord Stream 2 is still moving forward, albeit slowly. The US has threatened sanctions for companies participating in the project. So right now, there's just one Russian ship laying the pipes for the remaining 160 kilometres.
When people across the world have been advised to stay indoors, Israelis are out and about on the streets. Over 2,000 people launched a protest from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's residence to the parliament to protest against the poor handling of the COVID-19 outbreak by the Israeli government. Police used water cannons to disperse the protesters. 10 people were also arrested.
The Quebec man who police said was on the run after his 2 daughters were found murdered has been found. Police now believe Martin Carpentier took his own life. He is the main suspect in the deaths of his young daughters.
The grisly discovery was made by a homeowner. He called police around 7 p.m. Monday after finding a body in the wooded area behind his garage. That homeowner would end up having to be treated for shock. Police say they believe it to be Martin Carpentier and that he took his own life. Now, there was a massive effort to find Carpentier. For more than a week, dozens and dozens of officers scoured the region. Well, where he was found is an area searchers had checked. In fact, police admit it was one of the first areas they searched. It was only about 3 kilometers from the command center police set up for the manhunt.
In Syria, the ruling Ba'ath Party and its allies have won a majority in parliamentary elections. More than 7,000 polling stations opened Sunday across government-held areas of the country, but millions of Syrians who fled the ongoing civil war in the country were ineligible to vote. Concerns over the coronavirus also affected turnout. Activists and the political opposition in exile derided the poll, labeling it a farce. Washington dismissed it as stage-managed and unfree.
Let's head to South Asia now, where a prominent Pakistani journalist critical of the country's military has been kidnapped in the capital, Islamabad. Police say Matiullah Jan was last seen outside a school in the capital on Tuesday morning. Now, footage from surveillance cameras shows men dragging a driver out of his car and into another vehicle. Rights groups are demanding more information on his whereabouts.
The Jhelum River and the Himalayas have been two constants in Indian-administered Kashmir for as long as people here can remember. As well as being a vital source of water, the Jhelum and its tributaries have also provided a livelihood for many who mine the river for sand and minerals. But for the first time, people living in the region say outsiders have been awarded most of the mining contracts, and locals who've worked in mining all their lives have missed out. The Indian government began auctioning the first of 200 mining areas online in February. But fast-speed 4G internet hasn't been restored to the region since its autonomy was revoked in August last year. And the internet was cut off more than 50 times in the first half of this year. Locals say that's left them at a disadvantage.